Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I'm back again for the third day in a row. Sorry if you're expecting to see Russell, but I've explained already. He's on his Hollybob, so I'm now standing in on P.M.P as well. And wow, what an episode of P.M.P to come on to. I was wishing so much that we would get a great game today, something amazing to talk about, and my God, Celtic delivered. The calendar currently shows there are 3 league games left to go, but after that performance today, and the way things are going, Celtic may only need one more game to get to the title as it stands right now. And yeah, we're about to go all over it because yes, Celtic 3, Hearts 0 today at Celtic Park. Fantastic game, and you're about to go over it. And as you can see, P.M.P would not be the same without him. He is the face and the voice of the post-match pish. It is Terry. How you doing, man?
I'm good, Phil. How are you?
Oh, top of the world, mate. Top of the table and top of the world after that.
Yeah, you look amazing. How are you getting on with the old weight program? You must be down to the junior sizes now, looking at you.
Not quite at the junior sizes, but since last summer I've lost 4 stone, between 4 and 4.5 stone. So I'm kind of maintaining that just now. And obviously I'd like to lose a wee bit more. But yeah, I've done well so far.
You've lost 4.5 stone, you're about to promote pie sports.
I know. I've said this before on the show because I'm diabetic. I can't eat those. You know, it's like it's real. And they bought a meatball marinara pie recently, and I'm like, you bastards.
Listen, I've 3 pies defrosting right now. They'll be ready for cooking around about 10 o'clock, just whenever the vodka kicks in. And I've 2 of those marinaras. They're amazing. And one of the donors. So I've 3 pies ready to rock here around about 10 o'clock, just before bedtime, just to get the calories up.
Have one in my honour, because I can't have one. But if you want to go with piesports.com, obviously do that and get your meatball marinara, your doner pies, whatever. Use that code BUS1888 and get 12.5% off your order. And of course, do all that good stuff, folks. All the usual. Hit like, subscribe, slag the hair, as Russell says, whatever. Get involved in the comments. There's plenty of you already there, plenty of the regulars. Lots of things to say about that game today. But yes, let's get into it. Let's get cracking, P.M.P, because it was a game, I think, Terry, coming into this, there was a bit of apprehension, rightfully so. I think a lot of fans were worried because, let's be honest, at times this season, it's been a bit of a bipolar team where you just don't know what is going to happen. Hearts have had 2 good results against us in their most recent fixtures against us. They beat us at Celtic Park 2-0. They beat us at Tynecastle 2-0. It was one of those ones that you looked at and it's like, oh, the banana skin, because most fans were all programmed to look too far ahead. I know the players and the manager are all about one game at a time, but fans, we just naturally always think about that Rangers game looming in the near future, but Hearts first before it. Oh, they've got a few results against us recently. Could have been a bit of banana skin today, but yeah, here we sit tonight, and it was a pretty comprehensive one. But what's your overall, first of all, feeling? Is it just relief that we've got it out of the way, or obviously just did you expect that we were going to roll them over today? Were you quite calm going into it, or were you one that was a bit more, oh, I don't know, it could be a bit of a tricky one today? And right off the bat, Terry's stalled. So that's two shows in a row, folks, that I've had Liam stall on me last night, and now I've got Terry stalling on me. So what can you do? But yeah, while Terry is frozen just now and you'll probably disconnect and reconnect, I will go to some of the comments just now because I'll bounce off of you guys. Because also I was at the game. I was there. That's why we're coming on tonight at 7. But yeah, it was overall, I say, in the stadium, I felt it was right away from kickoff. I thought the atmosphere was fantastic, and I think that set the tone for the day. For standard of 3 p.m. kickoff on a Saturday, as most fans know, if you attend the games on the regular, if you're a season ticket holder, you know there's 3 o'clock Saturday kickoffs. They'll play "You'll Never Walk Alone" before the game, some of them, and it's sometimes a bit flat. But today, I think as soon as that was played, and that was one of the better ones for a 3 o'clock on a Saturday, I kind of felt like, yeah, this, you know, I had a good feeling right away with that one. And yeah, right from the start, it was so crucial that we got that early goal, and we certainly did. Obviously, with Kyogo scoring, of course, though, good old VAR wanted to intervene. I said to the guys sitting around us, even though we were celebrating the goal, I went, I guarantee that VAR is going to have a look at that goal, because you just knew the trajectory the ball took, Kyogo running in with that header, that you felt, oh, they're going to challenge us here, they're going to have a wee look. But of course, in the end, it wasn't to be. Let's get some of the comments up just now, though, and just see what people are saying. So Chill Pill loved it today. Yes, it was a fantastic performance, no doubt about it. 420 somewhere. Terry, is that mad with it? He's froze. Yeah. I say last night, if you were watching the Friday feeling, I had Liam freeze on me and he had to drop out near the end of the show. I've had Terry freeze on me. I've had to, from the start of the show now. So that's 2 shows I've had to do a bit of a solo gig, but it's fine. It's fine. I'm used to it. I've been doing this long enough now. So in terms of like being able to come on and talk about Celtic, especially after a good performance like that, yeah, it's not too bad. But Terry will reconnect in due course once he gets back on. I'll bring him back in. But yeah, for you guys, particularly going into it, 'cause I say last night on me and Liam were talking about the game for the Friday feeling. I say a lot of fans coming into it. There's a bit of apprehension there. How were you guys feeling about it? Were you always quite calm about it? You know, quietly confident that we'll go on and we'll absolutely do them. Because yeah, my feeling was if we do get an early goal, I think that will just calm the nerves. Because I know firsthand from going to games week in, week out to see that if it goes to 20 minutes, half an hour, and we're just sort of passing it sideways. I know how much angst can build with the crowd and whatnot. But no, today, say they just came out the traps flying. Kyogo's goal early on. And also, it was quite encouraging as well that I don't think you can really say it came off a corner because obviously it was a second ball, but that is something that we're also weak at. Not only just corner delivery and set piece delivery, but usually winning those second balls when they do break. So it is quite handy that I think it was, I want to say Hatate picked it up on the edge of the area. Let's put that cross in, and Kyogo, he was alive in the box. I mean, I heard Brendan Rodgers after the game talking about it and just saying that he was really impressed with that side of Kyogo today. Just how active he was, his movement and that in the box. But we know how good Kyogo can be. We know about that. That's one of the frustrations that's been this season because you watch Kyogo off the ball, guys, and you see just how he his movement and other players who don't pick him up, and it's like you can understand his frustration at times. So yeah, but he was alert at that point, and yeah, obviously he tucked it away very, very well. But yeah, one of the things that I did think added to the game though today was that Hearts, I think, didn't come and do the usual that you expect from teams when they come through to Glasgow to play us, and they didn't sit with 10 men behind the ball. I felt early on in the game, particularly Hearts had a few chances. Very, very early in the game, I think they had one where they ran across the face of the box, and we were literally throwing bodies in front of it to block it. I think it was Shankland had the shot in the end, but yeah, we were literally just throwing our players in front of it to get the ball in, and we managed to. And yeah, not long after we took the lead, Joe Hart pulls out a blinding save, I want to say from Cammy Devlin, I think it was. One where it kind of gets stuck under his foot, but he managed to sort of like toe poke it, and it's going up towards the corner, but Joe Hart pulls off an absolutely blinding save. So yeah, that is another crucial moment as well. And Joe Hart did have a few good saves today. It's been quite weird that since Joe Hart has announced his retirement, that I think we've got the Player of the Year coming up very soon, the Celtic Awards that are held by the club. I think he's in with a very good shout. I really, really do think he is in with a shout of getting that Player of the Year award. And I don't even think it could be put down as some sort of birthday card pish, essentially. We're just doing it just because he's retiring or anything. I think he's earned it because there has been some games this season where we have maybe dropped points. I know, like Kilmarnock at home, there was that game where we drew 1 each. It could have been worse that day. But yeah, he's pulled out a few good saves as well. In the end, yeah, the scoreline has been pretty comfortable, but yeah, he's done his bit as well. And it's so crucial for a Celtic goalkeeper. We see it over the years. There'll be games where teams will come down to Glasgow and they might not even get a shot on goal for the 85 minutes of the 90, and then at the very, very end they get one, and the goalkeeper still has to be alert to pull out a save. So yeah, Joe Hart has been fantastic in this run-in, and it's weird because at the start of the season, I think many of us were like, "Oh, we need to replace Joe Hart now," but our hand is now forced on that one. Terry, are you back yet, or because now we've got a black screen for Terry? Let's see if we can get him at all. And it says his mic's muted as well. Right. Oh, there we go.
I think you can hear me. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Yeah. Yep.
Give me a second to see if you can see me. Hold on a second.
No worries. You're doing a Regan Stevenson to me. You're hiding, but I can hear you.
I don't want to do it. I don't want to do that.
No problem, mate. Sorry, I've been holding the fort while you were away, just waffling away. I said last night it happened to me as well. Liam got disconnected. Greg Taylor was up to shenanigans and pulled the plug on him before he could slag him off. And Teddy Styles messed about with his connection. So while he's doing that, hopefully he gets it sorted. But yeah, there you go. Russell was away on holiday and everything's just falling apart right now. I'm doing my best to hold it all together though, just about keeping it together at the moment. But in terms of that, the after Joe Hart save, then I mean the second goal. Wow, I mean the ball from Matt O'Reilly from deep. I mean that cross comes from deep and just brilliant from Kyogo. Could Hart's goalkeeper have done better on that one? Maybe he could have, but you know what? Who cares? You know, as Russell says, the quote always goes, nobody cares, mate. And we capitalised on it. Kyogo was smart enough to just follow that through and got on the end of it. And it was a fantastic finish. And that set the tone, because one of the biggest worries that we have had, I think, especially home games, is if we don't get that sort of 2-goal margin, I find that, you know, it can be a dangerous game. Oh, Terry's back. He's even rubbing his hands. Oh, good. Are we good, Terry? Are we good?
Phil, obviously, I was talking to you before we come on, right? I'm having an absolute nightmare with the main broadcaster in terms of my TV. And at now it looks as if they're dicking about my internet as well. I'm sorry about that. Sorry for abandoning you. I think you just left me with, was I nervous? How did I feel?
Yeah, because a few fans... Aye, totally.
Right.
How was your feelings before the game going into it? Did you think, oh, this is a banana skin? Or were you like, nah, we'll just turn up and we'll do them?
Nah, do you know what, Phil? This season has been one of the most bizarre in my lifetime, which is coming up towards 50 years. And I think what it's done, though, is it's created an excitement where last week, all I could think about, all I was looking forward to was Celtic going to Dundee. And all I could think about this week was Celtic at home to Hearts. And the fact that we've been so bad, the fact that we've blown it, the fact that we probably thought we'd lost it, and now the fact that we have it again in our own hands. To me, every single game is just the build-up, the excitement. I'm looking forward to this like a kid on Christmas Eve. Do you know what I mean? And I think I don't remember being this excited about a title race for a long time. And the years where we were completely dominant and Rangers were reinvented and in the doldrums. I've my own thoughts on all of that. And I know a lot of Celtic fans wanted them to die and all that kind of thing. But if you really think back to what that was like when we were winning those leagues with Ronnie Dyla in charge, was that really enjoyable? Or will this season eclipse those kind of seasons where you knew we were going to win it before it started? There's something about it. The fact that we've been so bad, the fact that we're not very good, the fact that we don't know what to expect as fans. We don't know if we're going to go to Dens and win. We don't know if we're going to beat Hearts at home, because the last time we played them, we didn't. You know, it creates its own excitement, and it doesn't really matter if we're good or Rangers are good or whatever. There's an excitement about this season that I haven't felt for quite some time, and I think the fact that you're in a competitive title race, that's what's created this. And if this had been done by Christmas, you and me would be sitting here talking about another mundane performance, and we'd be going through the motions, and there wouldn't be any real excitement. The fact that we've been very poor this season, and we're now approaching games against Hearts and Dundee and anybody really with trepidation. I mean, we were probably a little bit worried about Bucky Thistle in the Cup, to be honest, because of how it's just so much uncertainty. But the other side of that is it creates an excitement, and all I've been thinking about all week is Hearts at home. And yeah, I felt we would get the job done. And the score, and you see me 1-3-0, you'd probably think, yeah, pretty much run of the mill. I know from the Bhoycie Bus chat earlier that the guys, and they're a hard bunch to please, some of the guys in the Bhoycie Bus chat, but the guys were pretty happy with what they've seen. I'm a bit mixed. I'm a bit conflicted, because I felt the first half, I felt we were very, very poor, and I felt it was like one of those smash and grab, you know, where teams come to Celtic Park, maybe in a European game, we're all over them, and they nip up the field and they get 2 chances and they score with 2 chances. They're absolutely clinical. we went in at halftime 2-0 up, and I'm thinking we've been pretty poor. But what this season has led us to expect then is if the first 45 minutes is bad, the second 45 will be good, and vice versa. So I felt we're due a good 45 in the second half, and I felt we were good in the second half. I felt the second half we really did start to impose, and I suppose the only thing from my perspective is I would like a couple more goals, because I still have this niggling thing that goal difference could play a part, and it all depends on the result next week, because next week, in terms of the goal difference, it's double jeopardy, because if Rangers score a goal, then we're minus a goal. So every goal in next week's match counts double, kind of thing in terms of the goal difference. But I think next week will take care of itself. Today was one of those ones where, as you say, lots of people are fast forwarding a week and we're looking ahead to the game next week. Today had to be done, and we got there, albeit I thought we struggled in the early exchanges, and I thought Hearts probably had the better of the early exchanges. But if you'd offered me 3-0, I'd absolutely bit your hand off, and that's job done. Yeah. I expect Rangers to get job done tomorrow, but there's no guarantee. There's no guarantee that'll happen, and we'll see where that leaves us. We're going into next week with at least a 3-point lead, depending, if they go bananas tomorrow, they shouldn't do, because Kelly haven't been rolled over by anybody. But if they don't better our score, we're another week down. We've ticked another box, and we're down to 3 matches. And next week will take care of itself. Next week will be amazing. I'm already thinking about it. And but today, I suppose start with it, Phil, in terms of what I like to do. And I almost called Bhoycie there.
Sorry. I could call Bhoycie the other night by Marc as well. Marc called me Russell as well at one point the other night.
I'm just so used to going Bhoycie, and I'm arguing with him and all that. But the team lineup today, pretty much as expected. He's not going to change. He's not going to change anything in the back. That's his back line. I mean, where Ange like to give Ralston games, Brendan hasn't done it. He hasn't given games. Now, Brendan is a fan of Ralston, because I think it was him that I might be wrong, but I think he was part of giving Ralston a contract when he was around the first time. But he's nailed his colours to the mast. It's Carter, Vickers and Scales, it's Johnston and Taylor, and that's it. That's not changing. Some people, me as well, I was saying last week, do we have to leave McGregor out and start with Iwata? And the manager talked pre-match around how he'd seen a difference in McGregor. Honest to God, I didn't see it in the first half, but I thought in the second half, I thought you started to see the old Callum McGregor, where he starts to boss. He's strutting. He's dominating the midfield. He's breaking up the play. He's starting attacks. I thought the last half, the last 45 minutes was back to prime McGregor. So that bodes well for next week. It was always going to be Atati and Riley. Forrest was always going to keep his place. Kyogo was always going to start, although a lot of people thinking Ida was maybe due a start. I've been championing Kyogo all through the season with Bhoycie, and we bounce off each other. And Bhoycie quite rightly talks about, he only had 2 touches that game. He didn't score. He didn't do anything. I think he just has that X factor about him, and I think you saw that today. First goal was opportunist. Second goal was just amazing. Yeah. The one that surprised me today, I didn't think Kuhn did enough last week or in the previous games. I didn't think he would start. I thought the vibes were that Maeda would have been fit, and I expected to see Forrest go across to the right. Now, what I think will happen next week is Forrest will go across to the right and Maeda will start. I thought Maeda looked superb when he came on, and Forrest had an excellent game as well. But Kuhn, after the initial introduction where he looked awful, then we were told there was mitigation, dental issues, weight issues, all that kind of thing. Then he looked okay. I think he's completely dropped off again, and I don't want him to start next week. I don't see what he brings to the party. He gets the ball. You know what he's going to do. He's going to cut in his left. He's going to shimmy as if he's going to shoot. He's going to shimmy again as if he's going to shoot. Then he's going to shimmy again as if he's going to shoot. Then he's going to shimmy again as if he's going to shoot. And then he's going to pass it to Greg Taylor. And I don't see what value he adds. I genuinely don't. I'm hoping next week it's Forrest and Maeda. But the only position that I really thought was up for grabs today was McGregor, Iwata, dependent and Kuhn, but then who were you bringing in? So Maida obviously wasn't fit to start the game, and Palma and Yang have blew hot and cold. So I think we ended up with Kuhn kind of as a default.
Yeah, he was one today that I mean, I don't want to say was terrible, because I think overall the team, it was a great performance overall. But yeah, he did have a very quiet one, and you're right, he has had a drop off. There was a wee spell there where after his initial sort of joining the first few weeks, they're like, oh, he's I don't know what this boy brings, but I think it was the Livingston game in the cup where he was looking pretty lively, and then he went on a wee spell. But that seems to be a sort of microcosm of our season when it comes to our wingers. It's like our penalty takers, where we go for a wee spell. Like, this guy scores a few penalties, he gets a turn. Our wingers seem to be the same. A guy's in form for a few games, and you think, oh, he's nailed it down, but then he goes out of form again. Yang did it for a wee spell as well. Palmer at the start of the season.
We're pining for these guys all to do well, Phil. We're absolutely pining for them. Do you know what I mean? And I kind of had an argument, not an argument, but a slight disagreement with my dad. I still have this thing in my head. I hold out hope for Yang. And I was saying to Bhoycie last week, the only mitigation against Yang's absolutely dreadful performances in the last month is when he was starting to show form, he was on the right. And when he came back after his suspension, he was in on the left. And I just think he's maybe worth another go on the right, but not as a starter. I thought he might have come on at some point on the right, but I mean, those guys, the numbers don't lie. Kuhn and Yang, if you add up all their performance time, they've probably got 3 goals and 3 assists between the two of them. And Palma, as much as he's got faults, I think if Palma plays, there's every chance he's going to get some kind of goal involvement, either by scoring one or by setting one up. And we are where we are, as you say, wingers.
Yeah, James Forrest, the guy that gave a testimonial.
Forrest was good today. Forrest was good.
He was very good. Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was very good. I say the guy who gave a testimonial at the start of the season is the guy that's came in at this stage. Fair play to him. I'm happy to be proved wrong in that one. If he ends up being this secret weapon that helps us get over the line, then fair play. I think his professionalism is incredible. The fact he's kind of knew his role this season of just being 4th, 5th choice at best, and when he's been called upon, he's came in and he's been doing the business for the last month at such a crucial time of the season. And
if he's not careful, he could end up on the flight to Germany.
By the way, with the way Scotland players are dropping right now with injuries, I wouldn't be surprised. A 26-man squad for the Euros. I think Forrest could make it in there as an option anyway. Stevie Clark might take him, but that'd be quite a story, because at the start of the season, say you're giving the guy a testimonial, everyone's thinking, well, don't just let him go. I think in January was not a story that it was like he's been told he can find a new club. I'm sure that was a story back in January, and here he is. He could be a crucial player.
Here's the thing that gets me, right. Anytime Forrest was brought in, he was getting numbers. If he was coming on and getting 15 minutes, he was scoring a goal, he was getting an assist. What was happening day to day at Lennox Town that was making the manager feel Palma, Yang, Kuhn were a better option than James Forrest? I mean, you've got to trust the manager here. We see the guys on match day. We don't see them any other time. And I know there's people talking about Scales against Navrowski. You've got to trust the manager seeing them every day. But I struggle to think, if I was watching Forrest every day, Yang every day, Kuhn every day, and Palma every day, I just struggle to comprehend that you would come out of that with Forrest gets very little game time and the other ones get loads of game time. I don't know how you would end up there.
Yeah, and you also remember that comment that you made about he's the best winger at the club, which again, you hear Brendan Rodgers say stuff like that, and you're like, oh, it's Brendan Rodgers. We know what he's like now, but I think over the last few month and a bit, he's definitely shown that he's definitely still got something in the tank there, and he's contributing in the short time that he's been getting a game.
Is he 31 or 32? It's not as if he's 40. Like Ryan Giggs was playing in his 40s. Do you know what I mean?
I think 32 at the most. I don't think he's 33
he's
yet.
Not an old man. Yeah. He's not an old man, like.
No, definitely not. I think he just, he's a victim of, because he's a winger. It's obviously pace is so crucial. But can he not be adapted to another position, a bit more central, maybe, instead of being relying on running down the wings? Who knows? Could this be a second wind in his career for James Forrest? Could there be a new lease of life, a new contract waiting for him at the end of the season? Who knows? We shall wait and see. But he's been fair play to the lads to say it's quite incredible that he could be that guy we look back at the end of this season once it's said and done. If we do go on and win this double, and you're like, that was such a crucial moment when James Forrest came back into the team. So the game last week up at Dundee, stodgy game. And yeah, 2 goals that day. But yeah, I thought today he was good. He played really, really well. Gave what side did he play? He kind of rotated this what side he's playing on at times. But yeah, he was giving their fullbacks quite a few problems today. So yeah, fair play to the lad. But while you were disconnected there during your problems, just picking up on a couple of things you've said when you came back in, because you were saying about the first half, there was some dodgy moments. And early on in the game, maybe the first 15 minutes or so, like even though we scored an early goal, right at the very start of the game, Hearts did have a chance. I think it was Shankland, one where he was going across the face of the box, and I think we were just throwing bodies in front of it just to block it. And yeah, so that was a wee scare right away. But then when we took the lead, and you were right to say great opportunist goal, because one of the things that's been a frustration for Celtic for a long time now is not just our initial goals off of set pieces. That was a second ball one as well, where the corners came in, they've headed it away, but we've picked up the second ball, pinged it back in, and Kyogo was alive. Brendan said after the game as well on Sports Sound that he loved Kyogo's movement today, how alive he was at that goal. He's got in there. I know Hearts tried to to test it, and it went to VAR for potential offside, but obviously in the end it stood. But only minutes after that, and I'm saying this when you were disconnected, with Joe Hart pulls off a fantastic save, I think from Cammy Devlin, I want to say it was. It kind of, he goes through between 2 Celtic players, it kind of bounces up just in front of him, and he sort of like toe pokes it essentially, and it's heading up to the corner, and Joe Hart pulls off a great save to tip it out for a corner. And he had quite a few good saves today, at times crucial, because again, with the Celtic goalkeeper gig, is you can have a day at Celtic Park where you're not called upon for the entire game, but there might be that one moment late in the game, for example, where you might need to come to life and pull out a save. But yeah, Joe Hart today, yeah, Hearts had their chances, but he stood up to them when they did have them. And obviously with the Player of the Year award coming up for Celtic's home one, I was saying there as well that I think it's justified that he is in with a shout of winning Celtic's Player of the Year, and it wouldn't be seen as some kind of sympathy thing just because he's retiring. I think he more than merits it right now, Terry.
Few different points to touch on there, Phil. So Hearts had that chance first minute. So the game kicks off. Hart should score. It lands at Shankland's boot. You're expecting the net to ripple. I was expecting the net to ripple. Somehow somebody got their body in front of it, and away it goes. But I know the game had only started, and I know we scored within 3 minutes, but it was against the run of play a bit similar to the game against Dundee. And I know it can't really be against the run of play after 3 minutes, but Hearts had that chance. Then I think they might have 2 corners in the first 3 minutes or something like that. Then we got that goal, which going back to your point around Rodgers saying about Kyogo's movement, I think Kyogo's movement's been like that since Kyogo joined the club. I think the difference was today, we had Hatate, who's getting stronger game on game, was able to find the decisive pass that unlocked Kyogo, where he was able to get a free header. And I know you were in the stadium, so you won't have, unless you've seen it since you've come back. I actually expected it to be given offside, because whenever they'd done the freeze on the TV, it definitely looked as if Xander Clark was more advanced than Kyogo, which then meant there was a player on the line, but it looked as if Kyogo was ahead of Xander Clark, which would have made him offside. But I don't know what I didn't expect the goal to be given. I was delighted when it was, but Clark was adamant that Kyogo was offside. But when they put the freeze up, whatever way Clark was, most of him was on the other side of Kyogo, but I think his trailing foot might have played him on. So I think it was very, very tight. I think it was really tight, but I think you've got to give Hatate the credit for picking Kyogo out, because all too often this season what we've seen is balls getting fired into the box, and Kyogo's not going to win them unless they're absolutely pinpoint and in the right position for him. and Hitati found that today, and it just gave us exactly what every supporter wanted. Is you're going into this game, and yeah, there might have been people who thought, yeah, we're going to sort this, but every single Celtic supporter must have a little bit of trepidation, given that Hearts have done us 2-0 the last 2 games. Mm-hmm. And to get the advantage after 3 minutes was just a total nerve settler. Mm-hmm. We had that little escape in the first minute, and then, as you say, Joe Hart, he made a save. I'd already, again, on the TV camera, sometimes you think the ball's going one way, and it looked as if it was going into the net, but it's actually coming out the opposite way. Yep. And Joe Hart made an excellent save, and he made 2 or 3 excellent saves during the game. And I'd go as far as to say, since he announced since he handed in his notice, he's been excellent. I was one of his worst critics, and I still stand by this. I don't think we should have been going into this season with Joe Hart as number 1. I genuinely don't. And he made some mistakes. He's made plenty of mistakes this season, but from the day he handed in his notice, from a goalkeeping perspective, I think he's had his best spell in a Celtic jersey from when he said he was finishing. I don't recall any mistakes that he's made other than missing a penalty in the cup semi-final. But from a perspective of keeping the ball out of his net, I actually think he's gone through his best period of performances from whenever he said, I'm done, to right now. And he was key. He's pulled out saves, and not just in that game today. There was saves in other games. The game against Dundee, there's different moments that they're very easy to forget because the ball didn't end up in the net. But that was a key save. He made another one later on, and it'll get forgotten because eventually the linesman's flag went up. But again, from seeing the TV pictures, I think if that one went to VAR, that would have been onside. That's where Taylor gets caught out, the ball goes in behind Taylor, and the guy's running clean in on Hart, and Hart spreads himself Schmeichel-like and makes the save, and then the flag goes up, so everybody just forgets about it. Well, it wouldn't have been a goal. That one would have been a goal because it was onside, and he's been superb. He's been really, really good over the last 6 weeks. The Celtic Player of the Year, I expect O'Reilly to get all the gongs, but as you say, I think Hart is a more than fitting nominee, but I think O'Reilly will get them all, and I think probably over the pace it's deserved. But Joe Hart's been excellent over the last 6 weeks, and you could see at the final whistle where he's going round and he's celebrating with the other players and he's gritting his teeth. He wants this big time. He wants to go out on a high.
Yeah, definitely, and that can only be a good thing. But yeah, it's not a very fashionable thing for a goalkeeper to get a Player of the Year award, but they are a massively crucial part of the team. And yeah, he is definitely, as you say, he's putting his notice. He seems to be on this excellent retirement tour right now, and long may it continue. He's only got a few more games to go, so hopefully, yeah, he can finish with an absolute bang. But yeah, it's going the right way. Now, something happened in the first half as well, and because I was in the stadium, I didn't obviously get to see replays of it, but you'd have seen it. There was an incident where Shankland appeared to elbow a player and he copped a booking for it. It looked a bit more sinister in the stadium than what it was. Was it a justified booking, or was it because it seems to
we didn't get enough replays or close enough to see. So the way I looked at it, and I said to my dad, I said, look, that can't be a booking. That can only be one of two things. It can be nothing or it can be a red. Now the commentary team referred to it as a sly elbow. But we might have got one replay from a distance, but when I'm watching the game, I might miss stuff. But we didn't get enough looks at it. And the way I was thinking was, well, I'm expecting a pause and play here where they look at it to see if it's a possible red. But as you know, when it comes to Celtic, the VAR decisions are very, very quick. They're almost instant. But I don't understand how that was. That to me, that couldn't be a yellow. The only things it could have been is it's nothing or it's a red. But I haven't seen a replay close enough up. So the commentator said it's an elbow. To me, it's red or it's nothing. It's an accident or it's absolutely nothing. I don't see how it's a yellow, but
A couple of people in the chat are
I'd love to
saying,
have seen another one, but you don't get these VARs. There's no VAR when it comes to incidents like that where a Celtic player's lying on the ground. There was another incident though, Bhoycie, or not Bhoycie. Fucking I just keep going Bhoycie. I'm ready. I'm all prepared for Bhoycie. And whenever he's on, I keep calling him Boydie.
jeez.
No, there was another one, Phil, where Greg Taylor went down holding his face and he didn't get hit in the face. He went down holding his face and he lay down and he stayed down and Hart's got a breakaway.
I know the one. Yep.
I was critical of him there because he's gone down, he's took a chance and he said, if I go down holding my face, they'll call it up. He didn't get hit in the face and that kind of shit annoys me. It annoys me. If the other team done that, I'd be sitting here going mad about it. Like,
I know the exact one you're talking about because I was at a point in the game where I think the second half we had them absolutely on the ropes. There was a wee 5-minute spell around about there where it's like, okay, we're 2-0. We dropped off just a tiny bit, and it was like, if they get one back out of nothing here, it could be a bit of a shaky one. And obviously, my mate, he was next to me. My mate was saying that, and I was like, oh, it'll be fine, it'll be all right. But then, literally, like 30 seconds after me saying that, they nearly had that chance. It's like, God, it could just be as easy as that. But yeah, I know the one you're talking about. It was Taylor went down, he was lying on the sideline. But but again, Joe Hart, did what he had to do. He got in front of it, didn't he? Pulled out the save.
Phil, it was really obvious they were targeting. They were doing that same thing that Dundee did last week. Where Aberdeen got the success. They were banging the ball into that left side of our defence, and teams have been doing it all season. You've seen it so many times. Like anyone who does their homework on us knows that that's a weakness. And I know Scales has got a new deal, and you know what? I think that's brilliant. I think he's worth it, but I think he's worth it as a backup. And what I'm scared about now is because I know the manager's all.
Has Terry stalled on me again? It looks like it. It looks like we've got that point that he's stalled. Yeah, he has. He's definitely stalled. But there's a couple of comments that I was actually going to pick up on just regarding the Shankland thing. If I go back up, I'll find it. So yeah, like Shell has said that Shankland should have been sent off. Rev was giving them everything. Well, I did say last night about Kevin Clancy. He's one of the most frustrating referees because he stops the play for so much. But yeah, Kevin Clancy was the man in the middle today. But he obviously booked Shankland for that. In the stadium, see where I sit in the Lower Jock Steen stand. Yeah, you saw Shankland's left arm come out like that. It did look like there was some serious intent there. In fact, and Chris obviously said as well that, your right intent was key and it wasn't considered because I was a bit of a surprise, that one. Just like Terry said, I was fully expecting them to have a review in the stadium. We were all shouting for it, like, yeah, it's got to go to VAR. But not a thing said. Obviously, he copped a booking for it, but that doesn't mean that that's said and done. Because I know that there's been things said in the past about this VAR stuff, and it's like once the referee's made a decision like that, then that's it. It just moves on. It's like, no, I've seen referees, book a player and then be told to go to the screen and have a look at it and overturn the decision. So, yeah, in the stadium, it did look like he obviously had a bit of intent there, a wee bit naughty. It's interesting that Derry said there that the commentators called it a sly elbow. Can you really get a sly elbow? Can it really be that at all? But it's a good thing that Shankland did stay on the park because obviously his elbow would play a key part later on because it was his arm that obviously gave away said penalty. But once Terry gets reconnected, hopefully we'll get around to talking about that. As I said earlier on, Russell takes a bit of time off and everything's just the wheels are falling off the bus, but I will soldier on. I will still keep going. So yeah, what else can I cover? Let's see, I see Liam's in the chat as well. But yeah, he's there. So yeah, overall though, Terry did pick up as well, saying in the first half he felt that maybe we were a wee bit fortunate. I can understand where he's coming from. I said there was some wee fleeting moments for Hearts, but yeah, that second half performance was just, is that what you want at this stage of the season? We've been pining for it. I mean, ultimately, my attitude going into the game was, as long as Celtic win today, I'm not really fussed how well we play. If we do play well, it's a bonus. But in that second half, I had them absolutely rattled at times. I thought the pressing that we were doing, not giving them much time on the ball, and it's like, that's what you want to see. Not this placid stuff, standing off them, sideways passing. We just seem to have a real forcefulness to our game today. So for me, I was just like, the second half was just an incredible run. Somebody picked up earlier on in the chat, and we mentioned McGregor, and I think today, we're starting to see him just at the right time, starting to find a bit for him. Because let's be honest, he's been a bit dodgy since he came back from that injury. Should he even be in the team? It's debatable, really. But there was that point where he tracked back and won the ball. I believe it was, I want to say it was Vargas, the Hearts player, number 77. He was an absolute nuisance all day, I felt. And McGregor, the tracking back he did to win that one was sensational. As I said, I was just talking there with the chat about McGregor's performance, just highlighting a moment in particular in the second half, where I think we saw it. I mean, McGregor was building into the game. He was getting better as it was going on. But I think the moment where, and I could tell you firsthand in the stadium, people actually stood up and celebrated like it was a goal. And I want to say it was Hearts players Vargas, number 77.
The two tackles.
Yeah. And he's breaking on a counter and McGregor's behind him. And you're like, oh, is he going to get done for pace here? But no, the tracking back that he does to win the ball cleanly and just passes it away, and we go on the attack again. Generally in the stadium, there was a proper roar of approval at that one, and it was like, yeah, now you're like, that's what you want to see from Callum McGregor. That's what he's got. Because generally, I'm not going to lie, when he was doing that I was like, just take him out if you have to, just to stop the counter attack. My God, he won the ball perfectly, and that's what we need him to be at his absolute crisp best right now.
Apologies for losing. I'm going to throw the main broadcaster is getting thrown under the bus here, honestly. But no, that was the moment, Phil, where I felt, right, that's McGregor back. That's where we wanted him to be when he came on at Ibrox after an hour. That's what we were expecting to see, weren't we? We're expecting to see we're leading here, and the captain's coming on, and we're expecting to see that second half performance that we've seen from him today. And I thought he was off it. I still thought he was off it in the first half. And the manager had talked about how he'd seen an extra sort of zip in McGregor during the week, and he felt that he was close to his best. I'll be honest, in the first half, I was still thinking, do you know what? Awata was the call here. Awata was the call. But in that moment, he looked as if he'd been outpaced. And I'll say this, I actually think Callum McGregor he's starting to go grey. And I think that's only happened in the last 3 or 4 weeks. He's starting to go grey round the sides. He's almost starting to look like an old man, and I'm worried that the games have all caught up on him. The 60 games a season for 5, 6, 7 years in a row. But seeing that moment, that was it. He was back. So everything else that's gone on in the last few games, that's gone. He's back. He's there. He starts next week. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter about Tomoki or how assured he looks or anything. McGregor's back. McGregor starts next week. McGregor leads the charge. That's him back. I'm expecting to see over the next 4 games what I seen in the second half today. He's starting to boss it. He took responsibility. And all it takes is a spark, Phil. And if you remember that game, I think it was the first Celtic Rangers game of last season, wasn't it? Or it might have been Ange's first season. I can't remember. But do you remember the one just where he just took the game by the scruff of the neck? I think it was Ange's first season, actually.
The one where Aaron Ramsey scored after about 2 minutes.
We were behind. And he went in that run. And that double challenge today where he looked as if he'd been beat for pace. He stretched, he got the challenge in, then he went again and got the ball. And you could hear the furore from around the stadium. That was a roar of approval. That was a seal of approval. Right, Callum, you're back. You're the main man here. Let's start bossing it. And I think that's key for next week, because as much as I like Tomoki, and I think he's a very, very assured player, I don't think he takes a game by the scruff of the neck. I think he does his best work in a quiet sort of way where you don't really see him, and he's maybe not on the ball that much, but he's closing off space and he's not allowing other teams' key players to get involved. But McGregor needs to be on the ball. He needs to be a buzz bomb. He needs to be full of energy. He needs to be breaking up attacks. He needs to be setting up attacks. And I think that was a moment where you think the captain's back again. Absolutely.
Oh, there was a moment as well. Not I say a moment, but there was a prolonged spell in the second half, and you'll know it, where Hearts were they were drowning. Like, we were all over them for a good, I'd say, 10 minutes. It was just relentless. And again, that was another moment where the whole crowd, you just felt it in the stadium. There was like, I think at one point there was one where O'Reilly had a shot. It was like a shot for somebody, and the keeper saved it, and it came back to O'Reilly, and he missed it as well. But around that as well, there's like a whole, say, 5 to 10 minute spell where it was just relentless. Hearts could not get out. Every time they were on the ball, we were just pressing them, winning the ball back. They were completely flustered, and it was like, again, you just felt it. There was like this weird, tangible feeling in the stadium where you're just like, this is it's like momentum, that thing that you can't control, the invisible force. Remember, the fans could feel it, the players could feel it, everything about it. You're just like, this is coming together at just the right time. The perfect storm is brewing, and that moment today, I say, it got around the applause around the stadium as well, and rightfully so. But yeah, they were at that point, because I was genuinely shocked we didn't get a goal at that point. It took till the last few minutes to get a penalty essentially to score. Because at that point, I thought we're going to go and win about 5 or 6 here easily. Like, we have got them absolutely rattled, and it's like, this is what you want to see. And again, all you're thinking about now is this I know. Go there, and this can't be happening at a better time, because we know what's coming up next. We know what the next game is, and because again, back in my head, I'm thinking they will be acutely aware of this performance we've put in the day, and that's going to break their spirit, I think, because no doubt about it, they had us a few weeks back. We looked like the team that were no momentum, no confidence, no plan, and the way momentum has swung, and now they see us putting in performances like that today. I think they know it's inevitable now as well, in terms of what we've done today. They were hoping that Hearts would do them another favour after the results they've had against us. But at that point in the second half, I say it was just majestic to watch. It was just like, this is what we've wanted to see all season. And I know I could sit here and go, where's these performances been all season? But you know what? See, at this stage, with what's on the line, now's not the time to be picking holes in that and going, why did they not complete this all season? They're playing at it right now at the right time in the season, because you need to be top at the end of it all. So yeah, that moment today was just, it was phenomenal. So in the stadium, you just felt it. Everybody was just like, the Holy Trinity, like Brendan Rodgers talked before, the Holy Trinity, the fans, the players, everything just all on side with each other. And I don't know how it came across on the actual TV, Terry, for yourself, but you know the bit I was talking about where I say it was maybe like a 5-minute spell where Hearts were just, they didn't have an answer at all. They were just booting it anywhere they could get it.
I think that period that you're talking about was just before Maida came on, and I think you've seen the culmination of the build-up, as you say, of the players getting a bit of confidence and the supporters starting to feel good, and then Maida just became that sort of iconic player coming on a week before a fixture where he's been a really lethal weapon for us, both in terms of an attacking force and a defensive force. I want to get your thoughts on one thing, Phil, that happened during that period where we were starting to really dominate. There was a tackle from Cammy Devlin, which again didn't get anything from a VAR. There was no pause. There was no let's look at that. Obviously, you're in the stadium and you don't get any replays, but I thought there was a tackle from Cammy Devlin, and he's a very combative player, and I have no problem with that at all. But I felt he was reckless, and I felt he was off the ground, and I felt it was a tackle that if a Celtic player had made it, there would have been a pause and play, there would have been a look, there would have been slowed down images, there would have been every angle to try and make it a red card. But as I said previously, when it comes to Celtic, the VAR checks against us, they seem to just disappear very, very quickly. But Cammy Devlin was, in my book, he was out of control. I don't quite know who he made the tackle on, but it was in our right back area. But he was off the ground, he was out of control, he was reckless, but it didn't go anywhere. But I just felt the reception Maida got, it wasn't because Maida was coming on, it was because we come out from the second half and we really stepped it up. The tempo was there, the intensity was there, the attacking mentality was there. All those Brendan keywords that end in TY. We're all there, and Maida's coming on, and Ion next week, and we know the Rangers Hall of Famer right back, not the serial desser, the serial loser. He will be having nightmares worrying about wee Daizan ahead of next week. And I think just everything was coming together in that 10 minutes, as you say. And it just again, from the TV angle, it just became a crescendo where Dyson's coming on. He's probably going, "Why nobody ever cheers me coming on? Why is this whole thing?" And it just was everything's coming together. I felt we had a sketchy first half. We're 2-0 up. We've come out the second half. We're buzzing. We're absolutely battering them here. And now we're bringing on a Duracell battery. And he it must have felt amazing for him coming on at that point. And the second half, as if you forget about the first half and you concentrate on the second half, I thought we were excellent. We just started to dominate. We were creating chance after chance, and all I'm thinking in the back of my head is, how many are they going to score tomorrow? Can we keep them at arm's length in terms of goal difference? I just have this worry, and I know it's very easy to think we've been very, very dominant in the Glasgow derbies this season, but next week's a brand new game, and you don't know what happens in that game. You could have freak moments. That first minute chance that Hart's got today, that could fall to a Rangers player next week, and he sticks it in the net, and all of a sudden you're up against it after 60 seconds, or you get a penalty against you, you get a red card against you. Next week's game will be the favourites for it, and everything points to us getting a positive result, and without being negative. To me, next week, if somebody offered me a draw right now, I'd shake their hand, I'd take it. I think a draw is a totally positive result next season, or next week. Sorry, I'd take it right now. Do I want us to go and win it? Absolutely, 100%. Do I think we can win it? Yeah, 100%. But if you offer me a draw right now, I'd take it, because I think that just plays into our favour completely. But there are freak things that could happen next week, which could see us on the back end of a defeat. And depending how many goals that would be, we could end up off the top. Do you know what I mean? And I don't want to be negative, and I just trying to think of all the eventualities where things can happen. It isn't a given that we turn up next week and get the points. There's so many things that could happen. Has the referee been announced for next week yet? No, that probably happens.
No, apparently that now gets done in the midweek running up. Now, I was under the impression that the referee appointments were done weeks, months in advance, but that's changed.
It's got to be Willie Collum, isn't it? It's got to be Willie Collum
going by the law of averages. Because I did something recently on one of the shows where I was talking about the whole strange John Beaton, Don Robertson combo that we keep getting for the last month and a half. Because Kevin Clancy refereed us today. That's only the third time this season Kevin Clancy's refereed us. The last time Collum refereed us was the Motherwell win at Fir Park in February. So interestingly, Clancy and Collum, who are both viewed as Tims, don't seem to referee us that much, but Don Robertson and John Beaton in some sort of combination in particular recently have been around our games a lot. But yeah, I don't know who the referee is going to be. I don't know who's going to get it. I just think it should. At the
end of the day, it shouldn't matter. But there's things can happen in a game, Phil. And if we're looking at this, if we look at this just from a logical and mathematical perspective, the most likely outcome next week is that we win the game. The second most likely outcome is that we draw the game. And the least of the three likely outcomes is that we lose the game. However, there's things that can happen that swing that, and you could lose a player in a totally innocent collision that then becomes a red card, a bit like a Yang or a Maeda against Atletico. And just to point out, there was a high boot from a Hearts player today, which went totally unpunished. But there's things that can happen in a game that just transform the most likely outcome to then be the opposite, where something else can happen that isn't what you'd bargained for. And next week will take care of itself. But it's not a given that we go and get the 3 points next week. Now, if we win next week, it's job done. I think if we get a draw next week, it's job done as well. But there's things that can happen, and I've seen enough in my 50 years on this earth to to just have a wee bit of trepidation around all these things that can just happen that turn next week into not a great outcome for us. But I honest to God, I hope I'm sitting here with Bhoycie. I hope I'm sitting here with Bhoycie next Saturday night, having the crack and the job's done and the trophy's just sitting there ready to be lifted.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. A draw does still benefit us. Obviously, there's that game against Kilmarnock that comes after it. I know a lot of fans are going to be like, "Oh no, worried about that." But I just think what's on the line. I think
if we get a draw next week, it gives you that safety net that if it goes wrong against Kilmarnock, you can still get the job done. Now, if things go wrong next weekend, that's a different story. Again, because of the goal difference, every goal they would get against us would be one off us, so it's double jeopardy next weekend in terms of the goal difference. Yes, we're sitting pretty right now. It depends on what they get tomorrow. If they turn around and beat Killy 4-5, 6-0, then the goal difference is gone. If they fail to match us, then we're well ahead. It just depends. I can't see Killy capitulating against them. I really can't. But stranger things have happened.
Yeah, I mean, it could be famous last words, but I think Rangers might get the win tomorrow. I don't see them like romping to victory. I think it'll be like a win against St Mirren the other week. It'll be quite stodgy. I think that Dujon Sterling comment a couple of weeks ago lifted the lid on the atmosphere at Ibrox right now after their draw with Dundee and their loss to Ross County. When he was coming out in that press conference and saying things like, he's looking around the dressing room and it doesn't look like a bunch of guys that they're in a title race. Essentially, he's basically saying that their spirit was broken, and that was after just a couple of dodgy results where theoretically they're still very much in the title race. And if that was the things that we get, and then of course when Clement came out like a day later or whatever, when he got interviewed, he said, "Oh yeah, he's lacked experience there, and he's or whatever." No, kind of threw him under the bus a wee bit, sort of like. Right. So I think Sterling maybe lifted the lid a bit too much on their attitude right now. And I say that performance we put in today ahead of playing them next week, I really do think that you're right, Tavernier especially, he's going to be pretty worried because. Yeah, you mentioned about Maeda coming on, and obviously when you see players come back from an injury, and the reports were that injury was going to be one that was put out for the season, and he's made a miraculous recovery. But my God, you wouldn't even think he was injured at times because he looked sharp as a tack when he came on today. Again, sometimes the player comes on after a wee layoff and they can be a bit off the pace. Jesus, no, Maeda was not off the pace at all. He was up for it for the very moment he came on. He was terrorising their right back and closing them down. He had a great moment as well where he intercepted a pass and broke through on goal. And it was a typical Daizen Maeda moment, Terry, obviously, where he does really well to win it. And then with his shot, he nearly hits the corner flag. He zips across the goal and nearly hits the corner flag. But that's Daizen Maeda for you. That's what he's all about. But yeah, he just looked so live when he came on. And it was like, this again, the stars are just aligning right now. But I do get where you're coming from. When it comes to this fixture, you can't take everything for granted. That we've seen some freak things happen before, and it is an old cliche. I know it really is, but when it comes to a derby game, foreign book does go out the window. So, but with Brendan, I think with what he's been saying in press conferences recently, it feels to me like he's very much concentrated on the task at hand, and the players will be the same. I think he'll keep them in check for next week as well, and I'm quite confident going into next week that. I think we'll get it done. The strange thing is when the post-split fixtures were announced, the game that worries me the most was not the Rangers game, because I feel like when we've played them this season, we've been, apart from the second half at Ibrox recently, we were the better team, I feel, over the piece in all the games, apart from a second half at Ibrox where we were just drowning at times. But I genuinely, like, when I looked at the fixture, I went, Dundee away, that could be a bit of sticky on. Hearts have beat us a couple of times. That could be a dodgy. And of course, Kilmarnock and that plastic pitch. But now that we've navigated Dundee and Hearts, it's like, the Rangers game, I would think, will take care of itself next week. But it's going to be a hell of a week building up to it, Terry. I wonder how we'll feel come Saturday morning. I'm sure the nerves will be churning. But this is what we live for. This is what it's all about. This is the big one coming up now. And now that we've navigated the hurdles, we can now think about it. Rangers still got one game to navigate. And yeah, Kelly, I think Derek McInnes is a point to prove against Rangers. I mean, he's already beat them this season. They're down at Rugby Park. I feel like, I know there's a whole fight about on McInnes, his loyalties and stuff like that, but I genuinely feel like he has got a bit of chip on his shoulder, because there was a whole debacle about, remember he was going to get the Rangers job. Remember he was very, very close to getting it. Yeah. And it didn't happen for whatever reason. And I feel like he goes out his way to try and prove a point against them, to say he has beat them already this season. So who knows? Tomorrow, you go for it again.
I had this discussion with my old man today, and he's talking, and we talked about the whole Hearts thing, where Hearts always seem up for it against Celtic and always don't seem up for it against Rangers. And I'll be honest, I probably take a different view than a lot of Celtic fans. I just don't see a scenario where a team is encouraged not to be up for it against another certain team. Stephen Naismith might have played for Rangers. That's in the past. He's the Hearts manager. I've seen people in the Cup semi-final going, I knew Hearts would lie down against Rangers. There's absolutely no way in this world that Hearts went out to lie down against Rangers in a Cup semi-final. There's no way in this world that Stephen Naismith, as the Hearts manager, didn't want to win a semi-final of a Cup against Rangers. There's no way that happens. I mean, James Forrest has got a brother in the Hearts squad. Can you imagine if that brother's sitting in the dressing room and the team are being told not to go full throttle against Rangers? That's going to get its way back to James Forrest. I just don't see a scenario where that happens. These guys are professional footballers. Their livelihoods on the line. Stephen Naismith is a manager now. He may not have his badges, or he might not have passed the online course that he needs to pass, or whatever's holding him up where he needed somebody else to be. But he's not going to want to lose a game against anybody. This is his livelihood. This is his job. This is and this squad of players that Hearts have, the vast majority of those guys are from a background where they couldn't care less about Celtic or Rangers. There's no way those guys are going to go out and play any less against anybody. I think it's just one of those things. And I get the whole diet, this thing and that thing. I get it. But if you step back from it and look at it logically, the vast majority of players in the Hearts squad are not going to give a shit if Celtic win the league or Rangers win the league or fucking Bucky Thistle win the league. Those guys are from backgrounds where they don't care about that. And even if the manager did come out and say, do you know what, guys, today's just a free one, those players don't care. They're not going to buy into that. I don't get it. I think it's just one of those things where Hearts struggle against Rangers, Aberdeen struggle against Celtic, and I genuinely don't see a scenario where a professional player goes out or a professional manager goes out and doesn't want to win a game just because it's against somebody he might have a slight leaning towards. I don't get it.
No, definitely don't. Because it's always good if they can do us a wee favour here now. Because I was going to the mentality whenever they're playing that they'll probably win. So when they do actually drop some points, it's always
here's the thing. I'll see Derek McGuinness is favourite to be the manager of the year, right? Now I might be wrong in this, but I think that gets decided tomorrow night or something. Or
it does get handed out before the season ends. I can remember a season when Gordon Strachan won it. I think it was Strachan's last season, and then Rangers won the league and the Scottish Cup. And Gordon Strachan got the manager.
So if you look at the nominees, Derek McGuinness is the highest positioned manager in the SPL that's up for it.
Right.
If he gets a result tomorrow, he wins that. Do you think he doesn't want that?
Of course he does, yeah.
Absolutely.
CV.
Absolutely. Yeah. I get the whole thing. I know it. If you look through history, Hearts have had some very, very dubious results against Rangers. I don't see it. I would like to think there's enough integrity in the game, and I think you would need so many people to be in on it. Like if James Forrest's brother is sitting in that dressing room and Stephen Naismith is encouraging the team not to care too much, do you honestly think the players are going to turn around and go, all right, okay, I'm not going to bother? I don't know. I know. I think it's easy to join the dots. But listen, we've got a free one tomorrow. The thing about it is, Phil, the total juxtaposition against last week. Rangers played before us. They got the job done. They staggered over the line like a drunk trying to get into his own garden. And then we done the same. But we've done it today. They'll not have sat and watched our game. They'll look at it 3-0, convincing they're up for it. We're in trouble next week. They've got to get the job done tomorrow. Now, will they get it done? The chances are they will. But it's not guaranteed. And they're up against a really sticky opponent who can cause problems for anybody. There's a young player in that Kelly team that's a shoe-in for the young player of the year.
That'd be Watson, is it? Is it that boy?
Yeah, I know it's a totally different conversation, and it's a podcast on its own. And looking ahead to next season, what I would like to see is a complete movement from Celtic away from this global scattergun approach for £2 million players. What I'd like to see is you go out, you get 3 to 4 key players who are guaranteed first teamers, and then you try to find the next Hickey, Doig, Lewis Ferguson from the SPL. Because here's the thing, Phil, from my perspective, and I know it's not one to go into today, but every time you go and bring a player in from South Korea, Japan, Australia, any of those places, right? Not only have you got to bring those players in and see if they can be at the level and get into the team and all this kind of thing, but you've also got to understand, can they settle in Scotland and adapt to the Scottish culture and all that? But see, if you're bringing in the cream of the young players that are coming through in Scotland, that box is already ticked. They don't have to adapt to Scotland. They don't have to adapt to the culture because they're already here. All they have to do is go from being a player at a small club in Scotland to a player at a big club in Scotland. And I prefer to see that approach.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the way it works with us, we've been in UEFA competitions, we need to register a contingent of Scottish players to tick a box, essentially. And I don't feel that we can just keep renewing guys like Scott Bain and Anthony Ralston and so on, Stephen Welsh for eternity. And there's boys there that definitely look like they're players. You look at what's happened to Ferguson and Doig, as you highlighted there, Hickey. These players have gone down south, they've gone to Italy. Remember Calvin Ramsey that played like a handful of games for Aberdeen? And got
I have this wee thing. I have this wee thing in my head. He might come to us at some point.
Well, he's not getting many games at Liverpool. He's
not going to ahead of Arnold or Bradley. I just, as this wee thing, I think we might have been interested in him, but when Liverpool come calling, but he wants to play at some stage. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, he's got to. It's stifling his development if he's not getting a place. I mean, it might be the type of thing we look at. He would tick a box as well in terms of, Scottish for the UEFA squads, and yeah, he's shown that he's a decent player for the time he played up here with Aberdeen. And Liverpool were happy to pay that amount of money for him, so it's definitely something to look at. But I think the boy Miller that plays with Motherwell, I thought the game we had at Fir Park, we beat them 3-1, but he was fantastic that day.
What a name!
Lennon Miller, yeah. Yeah, he's a good one. I think he's... And Watson was the boy that scored the last-minute goal against us for Kilmarnock when they got the 1-each draw at Celtic Park. So, yeah. But
that kid's got to be called after Neil Lennon, huh?
I've got to think so.
What age is he?
Oh, I think he's only a teenager, isn't he? He's only 18 or something.
Right. So when he was born, was Lenny playing at Celtic?
What's this, 2024 just now? So it would have been about 2005. Yeah, he would have been.
So his mum and dad are Tims, and he's been called Lennon.
Nah, it's got to be into it. It's got to. I'm sure a Rangers fan would have been named Lennon. Surely not. Come on.
See my last wee boy. He's got Lennon in his name because you can see over my shoulder. I've got the Lenny shirt and all there. Lennon, obviously, coming from Northern Ireland, Lurgan, about 30 mile up the road. He was just everything that anybody from here wants to be. Neil Lennon, Celtic supporter, gets the opportunity to play for Celtic under Martin O'Neill, and I stuck Lennon in as a third name on one of my kids' names. But if somebody's running about aged 18 or 19 with Lennon as his first name, you've got to think there's a connection there, and if he's good enough, get him in.
Yeah, he definitely. I mean that he set up the. What's the name of the boy who scored? Blair Spittle scored for Motherwell that day. A really good finish, but it was a wee pirouette that he did. They had a throw in down in that corner, and he did like this wee pirouette in the ball, then laid it into the Blair Spittle, who bent it into the corner. But he gave us a few problems that day, and right away I was like, this boy this boy looks quite handy, by the way. And he's been getting a few plaudits. But the boy Watson as well is another one. So
I would love us to bring those guys in instead of bringing guys in from across the world who are going to struggle to settle. And you know what I mean? We're signing guys from the other side of the world on $1 million, $1.5 million, $2 million. Mm-hmm. And there's so many things other than just their ability. There's so many other boxes that need to be ticked. But if you go to a guy that's from Scotland, playing in the league already, those boxes are ticked before you start. There's less obstacles to overcome for that player to be a success. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Definitely, man. We do need to have that contingent because just for UEFA's squads. But if these boys can come in and develop and contribute, then we've shown over the years that there is talent there in this league. You know, Scott Brown was signed from another Scottish Premiership team. Stuart Armstrong, they are there to be gotten, and it's like if we don't capitalise on it, they slip away. Look at how Lewis Ferguson's progressed out in Italy. I know he's got an injury at the moment that's kept him out for the rest of the season and probably out of the Euros now, but there's talk that Juventus are in for him now. Bologna have had a really good season, and he is getting linked with Juve, Italy's top team. And it's like, that's not an accident. This boy's clearly doing the best of it. Remember as well, Henderson that used to play with us, he's out in Italy as well.
Yeah.
He's been out there for quite a while, to be fair. He's been plying his trade for like Chievo Verona, I want to say, like one of these types of teams. But the Serie A team, so it's like, he's been out there for quite a while now. And Josh Doyle went out there,
There's been a real interest in Scottish young players from that Italian league, and that's not through chance. That's not those guys don't mess about. And they've seen something. They've seen a niche in the market where they can get players at an undervalued fee. And like in the likes of Hickey, like at the end of the day, Hickey's injured a lot. Like he's a wee bit like KT. He misses a lot of games, but they took a chance on him. In the games he was available, he showed up well, and they sold him back to the Premiership for around about 15 million quid. So worst case scenario, you're making a few bob on somebody that's injury prone. Do you know what I mean? Like Hickey was under Celtic's nose. I think he might even have been with Celtic at one point. I'm not sure if that's totally right. Like I think he might.
I think you're right. I think you are right.
But do you remember that cup match where I think it was the semi-final? It was Celtic and Hearts, and it was Karamoko up against Hickey, and Hickey was, I don't know, 16 and Karamoko was 15 or fucking something like that. Yeah. And it was all badged up as this is Karamoko, the sensation. And he was, like, at underage level, Karamoko was one of the most popular names in Europe. And I've seen a few stories this week where they're talking about how he's about to be propelled into the Champions League because Brest, who are his parent club are sitting third in the French First Division. But let's face it, Karamoko's been playing at Blackpool. Do you know what I mean? And there's stories going out there about how this ex-Celtic kid is about to be propelled into the Champions League. I think that's a bit far-fetched. He's at Blackpool for a reason. He's not, you know what I mean? If they're about to qualify for the Champions League, he's playing at Blackpool. He ain't going to be involved in the Champions League. I don't care. Whatever's gone wrong, something's gone wrong in that kid's development. I don't know whether, none of us know what the crack was, but he was one of the most talked about kids in Europe. He didn't get the breakthrough at Celtic. Let's be clear about things. If he was at the level to play in our first team, he would have been in it no matter what. But that cup final, or that cup I think it was a cup semi-final. Or
it was the last day of the league season. We played Hearts. It was the season.
Yes. And then we were playing
the
game in the final.
We did play them in the final as well, but Karamoko Dembele came on as a sub that day, and Hickey was having a terrible time.
The last league game, he was up against Hickey, and it was all about this is the new sensation, Karamoko. But Hickey held his own in that game, and I'm sitting there thinking, yeah, this is about Karamoko. This is about this kid that we've been waiting for coming through. But I says, the kid doesn't look bad either, and we know he slipped away there to Italy when probably 2 million would have got that job done. Do you know what I mean? And you think about it, do you know?
Yeah, definitely. And fullback's been an area that we've had problems with, especially since KT left. We could have done with a player to replace him because, we're this far down the line now since KT and Greg Taylor's the only left back in the squad. Somebody saying that Hickey was a left back but can also play right back. how we could do a player like that, a good utility player that can play both sides quite competently. But yeah, what we'll do is, because it's 1 hour 50s, we'll go for an hour and a half because Terry had all sorts of connection problems earlier. Let's stay on to 90 minutes.
I'll give you a bonus. I'll give you a bonus 15.
We'll stay on a little
I
longer.
just hope there's enough fog in this bottle to get me through.
Oh god, no, we'll make it. I thought I said just going for the usual hour because you've had.
I might need a toilet, Phil. I might need a toilet, silly thing.
Sorry, for the last 24 hours doing shows, I've been left solo anyway for a period, so it's fine. I can do it. It's not a problem. One more thing I was just going to say about the game today. When you get disconnected the last time, I was saying it was quite appropriate that maybe Shanklin didn't get sent off because his elbow did play a significant part later in the game. Because he obviously handled it at the penalty, which was an interesting moment in the stadium. Because again, you're thinking, wait a minute, why get a penalty given against him for less than this? Every player around Clancy right away, the ball goes out for a goal kick to Hearts. Yeah. Greg Taylor actually ran to get the ball off of the goalkeeper because he was so convinced that we're getting a penalty here. So I was like, that's a bit brazen of you, Greg, that we're going to get a penalty, but he was convinced. But also the quickest VAR decision I think I've ever witnessed in the stadium, because normally it's standing around to the earpiece for about 3 minutes. Then he goes to the screen. He was generally just holding the earpiece for about 10 seconds. Then it was like, oh, wait.
he knew before.
Ran to the screen, and he was only there for about another 10 seconds, and he came back, penalty. And I was like, what? That's the quickest VAR decision I've ever seen in stadium. Unbelievable.
Right, so there's two questions. How did Clancy miss it?
I know, yep.
Again, you're in the stadium, you don't see it, right? But the camera focuses in on Shankland straight away, and he's as guilty looking as anything. So you know by the Celtic player's reaction, and you know by Shankland's reaction, it's definitely going to be a penalty. So the play runs on a little bit, and you know as soon as he puts his finger to his ear, you know it's going to be a penalty. But the only other question, the two questions are, the first one, how did Clancy miss it? Because he's got a position, it's the most obvious penalty you've ever seen in your life. And the players' reaction on both sides, Shankland and the Celtic players, you know it's a penalty. And then the second question for me is, why is he not sent off? Because deliberate handball is a yellow card. And it's a deliberate handball. He's put his hand up to protect his face. If he doesn't put his hand up, he gets hit in the face, it goes out for a corner. He's put his hand up to protect his face. That's deliberate handball, and that is an automatic yellow card, which is then a red card. Now, at the end of the day, in the grand scheme of things, it makes no difference really if he gets sent off, because the job's already done at that stage for us. And I don't want him missing a game against any of the teams that he's got to play against in the next 3 games. But it's just another one of those ones where, why is that not the correct decision? Why has that referee not made the correct decision?
Yeah, I just don't know what it is with referees sometimes, why they take this sort of lenient approach. Oh, the red card might spoil the game. Well, the game's already pretty much done, and if he's broke the rules, and you're right, it's a deliberate handball, essentially. If I'm right in saying when the Awata one happened at Tynecastle, the dubious one, of course, was flagged up this week, and the report is being wrong. I'm sure Awata also copped a booking as well for that when they went and reviewed it on the screen. I'm sure he also got booked by Don Robertson for the handball.
Well, that is the single worst decision of this whole season, that Awata one. That is ridiculous.
Dreadful. Yeah, the IFAB rules say that if it comes off your teammate, heads it against you, kicks it against your arm, it's not a penalty. And of course, Alistair Johnson heads it off of his arm. So between Don Robertson, the match referee, going to the screen and conferring with John Beaton and looking at it on the screen, between the two of them, they still decided, that is a penalty.
But here's the key, Phil. We need to hear what that conversation was. Yeah. We need to hear what that conversation was. There's no logical conversation that could have happened there where I or you or any Celtic fan would have been convinced of what those guys were saying. That conversation has got to amount to, right, we've got these fuckers here. We can give this. It's hit his hand. There's absolutely no dispute. It's hit his hand. Let's just fucking give it. And he's going, yes, happy days, mate. We've got these cunts. You know, that's the only conversation that could have happened where I will go, right, do you know what? I accept that. I accept that there's two guys here that have had an opportunity to create an outcome and they've done it. But there's no way this has come over where John Beaton has said, okay, mate, do you know what? You've got this right. However, if you think about this scenario where you can look and there's been a contact from a colleague and a touch on the ball that has moved the ball and it's hit his hand, and we can't really give this because of the rules, but I think you should do it. That's not the conversation. How do they get there? I just don't know how they get there. But the thing about it is, Phil, and this is where I hope we're sitting in a week's time with the job done, is despite all those decisions, despite those many decisions that went against us, despite all the anomalies and all that kind of stuff, and all the poor performances where we've only got 10 minutes of the real Celtic, 25, 30, 45, but never two halves in the same game. Despite all of this, if we can get out of this with the trophy in our hands, this is gonna be some season.
It is. I'll ask you this question because I've said this a couple of times in recent shows. From a fan, we'll try and do it from two different points of view. From a fan's point of view and how you think Brendan will view it. If we do go on and win this double, from your point of view, where will this rank? And where do you think Brendan will rank it in his own achievements personally? Because I think Brendan will put this above the Invincible treble season if we pull this off. Because I think he will look at the competition that we've had this season. Because I know you can only beat what's put in front of you, and I loved the Invincible treble season. If I could live the Invincible treble season over and over again for the rest of my life, I would absolutely love that. But end of the day, Rangers were a shambles, and yeah, we absolutely cakewalked it that season, but still had to win the trophy, still had to get it done. But I think Brendan himself will view where we've been this season and how bad it's been at points. If he turns this around and wins the double, I think he personally will put it up there as his best achievement as a Celtic manager so far.
From my perspective, I'll put it up there as well, but I think it's very, very easy to just get caught up in the hold here and now, and all the other ones are done. All the emotions gone out of them because they're already given. But probably since Rangers disappeared and then came back again as a new entity, this is probably the first season where it's been nip and tuck. We dominated all the others except for that anomaly COVID season where we were gone. We were gone by October and we were never getting it back. This is the one where it's been in doubt and there's been jeopardy every single week. And again, all the others are gone. There's nothing, there's no emotion. You can't attach emotion to the previous ones because they're already gone. So for me, this is the sweetest. This is the sweetest of my life. And it's not done. It's not done. So I'm not sitting here going, this is going to be my favourite one, because we're not over the line. And I've seen enough this season to make me think there's still plenty of give in this. Now, if we get through next week unscathed, and what I mean is we don't lose, then I think we're done. But just because of the ups and downs and being just put through the ringer by this club that we love, this would be one of the top three in my lifetime, and I'm coming towards 50, Phil, and this would be one of the sweetest of them all. It really, really would.
Yeah, no, that's fair saying. It's all subjective and where fans will view it. So I think Brendan personally will probably be like, yeah, you enjoyed this one because of the way he's been written off.
I think he'll know in his heart the ones that he got previously. If he didn't get those ones previously, then he was going to be under scrutiny. You know, there was no challenge. There was no challenge when Brendan was there the last time. No challenge at all. And I mean, I'll not diminish Ronnie Dyler's contribution, but he wasn't up against anything either. And Brendan wasn't up against anything in his time. This is the first time there's been any kind of challenge. And a lot of that challenge is not because of the opposition. A lot of that challenge is because of our inefficiencies and our deficiencies. But this is the first time Brendan's had to work for silverware. And I agree with you. I think if he gets this one over the line, he might not say it. He might not say it out in the press. But I think internally, in his own private review of what he's done, I think he'll feel this is the sweetest one, because this is the only time that he's had any kind of challenge. And there's been a lot of things that have worked against us. We've talked about them there, decisions and just our own deficiencies in terms of the recruitment last summer. This squad of players that Brendan's had to work with is nowhere near the squad of players that he had to work with the last time. I think internally he'll be buzzing to try and get this one done, and he'll see that as the best. Will he say that in public? I'm not convinced that he will. He usually says the same things, or usually says the right things in public. I would say internally, he's buzzing right now, and he's ranking this right up there with anything he's done.
Yeah, definitely. I think I've just got the wee vision in my head of that gif from that night he did at the I was going to say the Hydro or whatever, the Armadillos go with Eamon Holmes hosting, the two of them sitting there applauding the story. I'm just like, Brendan's just got that vision in his head, him and Eamon Holmes sitting there applauding what he's done this season. I could just see it right now, but it will be quite a turnaround, because there was a point this season where we were just bereft of ideas. It just seemed like we were just lost all momentum and all confidence. And for it to end, if it does, I called it an improbable double a wee while ago. It still feels like it could be improbable. But hey, we're in the position to win it. We need to go and find a way to do it. Now, before we finish up, there's a wee quote that's came out today as well. Again, from the post-match comments from Brendan. And he was talking about next week, and he used the term that we'll have some fun next week, Terry. That's what he said in regards to talking about preparations. And he finished it off. He just got a wee Brendan-type line in there at the end and just said, yeah, we'll have some fun next week. It reminded me of when we beat them back in December, and he sat there after the game just calmly going, all the time that I've been the Celtic manager in the two spells, it's always, Rangers are always coming, or the next manager that comes in, Rangers are always coming to get us. And it's just that wee dig that he got in there. But yeah, at the end of his comments, or his end of his post-match interviews today with the media, he said that, we'll go away and prepare and get a game plan together, and we'll look to have some fun next week. So quite ominous, a bit like the be careful what you wish for moment when maybe they were all celebrating the cup draw, and he just sat there calmly and went, be careful what you wish for. And that ended up a bit of a egg on their face, that one. But yeah, I like Brendan in this mode. I like when he throws wee lines like that in there, because again, it just makes me feel like he's fully concentrated on the task at hand. And he does, regardless of how turgid some performance has been this season, he knows how to get a result against them in the big occasion, and that bodes well for us, Terry.
I know he does, Phil, and I know everything we've seen, Brendan's record in this fixture in both spells, everything we've seen this season points towards a positive outcome for us next week. There's just that little opportunity where something goes wrong early in the game. There's a decision that goes against us. You could get a red card, you could get a bad decision against you, and everything starts to unwind from then, a domino impact. Everything points towards next week being a great weekend for Celtic, and the weekend that we get this thing over the line. But there's enough jeopardy and enough trepidation there, and enough in my 50 years as a Celtic supporter to understand things could go wrong next week, and things could look very differently at 5:30 next Saturday. But there's a game tomorrow. There's an absolute freebie for us here tomorrow where, thank you, Strachan's Laptop. That's a lovely comment. I think you're the first person that said I was any good.
Oh, no way. Top notch, Terry.
No, listen, tomorrow's a freebie, right? Mm-hmm. If they drop points tomorrow, it's fucking game over. But next week, it's just building. I expect them to get the job done tomorrow. I hope they don't get too many goals. But can you imagine, I'm already excited, right? And we're sitting here on Saturday night. Can you imagine what that feels like on Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night? Yeah, Friday night, the stuff running down your leg. You wake up on Saturday morning, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. You've got to get up, find your way to the game. All I have to do is get up, find my way to the remote control and stick the game on. Do you know what, man? This is what it's all about. You've got a chance to go next week and win the league against your biggest rivals. And for all the seasons where it was job done by December, January, February, March, as crap as we have been this year, this is the fact we've not been good makes it so much more exciting and will make it so much more enjoyable if we get it over the line. Just remember there's a niggle in there where we've never strung 245 minutes together, and things can go wrong in a game. There's things that can go. You've got to trust these players. The manager will pick the team. I fully expect, unless there's anything happens during the week, the team next week will be Hart, Johnston, Carter Vickers, Scales, Taylor, McGregor, O'Reilly, Hitati, James Forrest on the right, where he hasn't played. James Forrest on the right, Kyogo through the middle, Maida through the left. Unless something happens through the week, if that's not the starting lineup next week, I've just lost all contact with the game. That'll be the starting lineup. On paper, that is more than good enough to get the job done. But the game's not played on paper. It's played on grass, and wee things can happen. Just keep your wits about you, players. Don't give the referee any decisions to make. Milk up the fucking love from the support, and let's make this an absolutely wonderful day for all those supporters inside Celtic Park next weekend.
That's perfect. I mean, that's the team talk right there. Hopefully Celtic's admin gets a hold of this clip and just plays that next week, because that is the team talk. That's all they need to hear. And yeah, hopefully they go next week and do it. But over the course of the next week, it's going to be a lot of build-up, a lot of content will be churned out by the Bhoycie Bus. I will speak to David Logo later. I believe there should be a Sunday Blether tomorrow. But
hopefully, I love tuning into the Blether when you're waking up from the hangover and you know you have to get up, but you don't have to get up just yet. And I love that we are where the Blether comes on, and you've got you boys with such a wonderful insight. And it's the morning after the night before, and it's a great show. I love the Blether. I absolutely love the Blether. I think it's one of the best shows in the Bhoycie Bus, and it's probably just because we lie on a Sunday and I don't have to contribute, and I'm begging just for a reason to stay in bed and stick the earphones in and listen to another one. No, I love listening to you boys. But listen, as you say there, Phil, the whole week's going to be about build-up, and you have a wonderful spectrum of Celtic pods that are all out there, and they're all very, very good in their own right. And obviously, I'm biased for the Bhoycie Bus and all that, but the build-up this week is going to be amazing. And the thing about it is, sitting here on a Saturday night at around about 8:45, we've done our bit for the weekend. We can't do any more. You expect those guys to go and get the result tomorrow, but as you know, they're not serial deathers, they're serial losers. And there's a chance this whole thing could be done tomorrow. Do you know what I mean?
Could be. I hope so. I really, really hope so. That would just be icing on the cake.
I will salute Derek McGuinness getting his Manager of the Year gong tomorrow night if he gets a result tomorrow.
He gets his Manager of the Year gong, and somebody in the chat said he'll be the Rangers manager before the cup final.
Here's the thing. I thought he should have got that job twice before, and I'm actually glad that he didn't, because I think he's an excellent manager, and I think if he went there, he could be a long-term sort of appointment. And you've seen what he can do with a team like Kilmarnock and a team like Aberdeen. You've seen how he can get those guys to get results against both Celtic and Rangers. Like if he got in there and he was given a blank checkbook and EBTs and all those kind of things that given before, he could do a job, and I'd be happy enough for him to get overlooked for that for a few more years, to be honest.
Yeah, I can't remember what the word was that they used in their statement when they put this statement out in typical Rangers fashion. Of course, Statement FC. It began with a C, not that C word, but I can't remember what it was. But they described his decision not to take the job or whatever it was. Somebody in the chat will probably put it in, but it was this really odd word that nobody really ever seems to use in everyday language, and it was just like, where did they get that one
I think
from?
He's the perfect manager for them, to be honest.
Yeah. So, there we go. David Kelly saying, is it again concomitant? Apparently it was something along those lines, if that was it. But yeah, I was like, what is that? So yeah, I just remember at the time when they put out their statement describing Derek's decision, either he knocked them back or they decided to pull the deal at the end.
I think he was offered it, but there was something that he wasn't happy with. Like, I don't know, like
I've got a theory.
I think he'd be perfect for him.
He would have done. I think he would have probably been a safe choice for them, because since that, I think since then they've had Pedro and they've had Murty back in, and then they had the Gerrard stuff and Gio. Gio was actually their best manager, but this isn't a pod about them. But obviously they chased him anyway. But yeah, as I say, over the next week, guys, Russell's still on his holidays. He said on the Thursday night forum, he appeared in the live chat. He said he was looking to be back in about 10 days on the show. So by my maths, that would be the P.M.P for next Saturday after the game. I reckon that's what that would be. But yeah, for the rest of the weeks, I'll still try and pull things together and make sure that shows are going out. I know that Connor's going to record another carpool episode.
Car crash, another car crash.
I want to say it was either you or Liam said in the group chat when we were theorising names for that, and somebody said Carmageddon, and I was like, Carmageddon's genius. That should be the name of the show. I was like, Carmageddon is spot on, but carpool.
I said car crash in the show last week. He's getting a lot of grief. Big Connor's getting a lot of grief. Connor's an absolute diamond gazer. Like he's getting a lot of grief.
I will say it here as well. And the on the live chat, I was doing the TNF the other night. Somebody in the live chat came in. They must either be a new subscriber or just somebody that's discovered the channel. And and Mark was being Mark and going on a rant about something. And the person in the chat said, "Oh, the wee guy like swearing." Obviously, talking about Mark talking. And I just saw the comment and thought, this guy's never watched a show with Connor on it. Because if you don't like swearing, then stay away from Connor's shows. Because my God, the swear jar is busted at the seams, honestly. But yeah, I saw that comment pop up on Thursday. Oh, that wee guy likes swearing. I was like, you should tune into Connor then and see how he goes. Oh, that'll shock your system. But yeah, Connor's going to record one of those. I spoke to him yesterday and asked, right, when do you use it? So it'll be Tuesday or Wednesday, we'll get that together. I don't know if Jono's available, but Monday Club and stuff like that. But TNF will definitely be on next week. And of course, next Friday, I'll do that Friday feeling. It'll be the night before. Oh, the big one. So yeah, a lot to come up this week. And looking forward to it. See, we live for this, we thrive on this. So yeah, it's gonna be a good week. So yeah, thanks for watching us tonight, guys. Thanks for sticking with us, hitting the subscribe button, doing all that good stuff. And yeah, me and Terry are going to head off now. It's been a 90-minute long P.M.P, as long as the game was today. So yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed it. And Terry, it was an honour to be on with you, mate. I said I don't usually do P.M.Ps, but it was great to be on, mate. A really fun game to talk about as well.
I always look forward to it, mate. Thank you for stepping in for Boy Day. And sorry for my internet issues. I thought it was gone. Just twice I thought it was gone. I'm running up and down the garden trying to get leads and stuff to get it all sorted out. Thankfully it was short lived. But no, thank you for standing in for Boy Day. Hopefully he's back next week. But if he's not, then we can work something out. We'll make it all work. We'll make it all sort out. But listen, we've ticked another game off. We've ticked another one. We're down. Well, you can say we're down to 4. I'll be honest with you. If we don't win the league, the cup final can fuck off for me, to be honest with you. If we don't win the league, the cup final's just after the Lord Mayor's show. But if we get this league done, then all of a sudden that cup final just becomes something to look forward to. Let's get this league thing done. Next week's the big one. We've done our job today. We've done our job last week, hook or by crook. Tomorrow it's a freebie. Whatever happens, happens. Next weekend, let's get the job done. Let's get it done, Celtic.
Yeah, let's do it. And of course, that cup final's on the 25th of May, so there's connotations to that as well. But first and foremost, 100%. League title. Let's get it done, Celtic. So yeah, we're out of here. Enjoy the rest of your night, guys. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. The bank holiday weekend as well. Hopefully, Kilmarnock can do us a wee turn tomorrow as well to make it even better. But either way, enjoy it, and we'll be on, well, I say maybe a Sunday Blether tomorrow, so I might be on that as well. So if you're fed up with my face so far, then sorry, I guess is all I can say at this point. But yes, we will catch you on the next one, guys. All the best, and see you later.